Good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Doscher. I serve as the Associate Director for our Office of Global Learning Initiatives, which organizes our Tuesday Times Roundtable series and all of the events that are associated with the university-wide Global Learning Initiative. Before I introduce our moderator today, I just want to draw your attention to a special invitation that we have for you and the people that you know, if you would help spread the word. There is a flyer regarding our brand new Peace Corps Prep Certificate Program. This is aligned also with our new Global Learning Graduation Medallion. So this program is meant to prepare students for entry possibly into the Peace Corps or any other kind of international economic or social development work that you might do. The Peace Corps is an internationally known program, and it's very prestigious to have the Peace Corps on your personal resume, even if it's the Peace Corps Prep program and you don't end up entering into the Peace Corps. We're going to launch this program. We're one of a very few universities in the country that is aligned with the National Peace Corps to offer this program. And the launch is going to be on October 10th. At 1:30 in GC 140, which is across the way. And our provost will be there, as well as the national director of the Peace Corps. And she's going to be giving a talk, and actually she's going to engage in a dialogue with us about the role of the environment in development. She'll probably also be talking about some current events that are aligned with that, such as the Ebola outbreak and other issues that have significant impact on development. So please come at 1:30 on the 10th. We would love to have you, and please share the word. And now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's discussion. Alexis Hamilton Fulks currently serves as the Assistant Director in Student Conduct and Conflict Resolution. She oversees the Civility initiative and all of the associated programming with that initiative, as well as recruitment and training for the Student Conduct Committee. In addition to her duties as a hearing officer for the Code of Conduct violations, she's responsible for presenting on topics including hazing, Title IX, ethics, and conflict mediation. As a two-time graduate of FIU, she received a BS in 2006 in Political Science and Women's Studies, and an MS, a master's degree, in 2010 in Higher Ed Administration. Alexis is a proud Panther, and she is deeply committed to the mission and the values of this university. So, Alexis, we're sure you're going to have a lot to share with us and lead us in a very engaging conversation.
I am excited about the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. Before we get started, the article obviously is in front of you, and today we're going to be talking about Civility, which partners with our Civility initiative here at FIU, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end of our discussion. But to kickstart, I do want to just go over a little bit more in depth about what the article oversees. This artist, Tatiana Zalazadeh, she is inspiring many people across the country, and she started at a university. Her initial partnership was through her own expression, but as you see from the article, she has partnered with universities in Georgia and gone up and down the East Coast, across to the West Coast, to be able to share her mission of street harassment and what that is in our society today and how it needs to be combated. So I am going to give you some statistics to start off with, hopefully to kickstart our conversation, and then the rest of the time I certainly want to hear from you all and get your perspective on FIU stance, your own personal histories or experiences, and then what we can do all moving forward. So if you get a chance, and I know that the link is here, she has a 7-minute video that actually goes into interviews that of these women that you'll see throughout the presentation. She interviews them and talks to them about their personal experiences. So if you do get an opportunity, check out her video. What is gender-based harassment? Gender-based harassment surrounds anyone. It is not just surrounding women. While the focus today may be surrounding women, men, individuals in the LGBT community, as well as transgender individuals, are all victims of street-based harassment. So when we're talking about harassment, it could be the catcalling, like the whistling, anything like that that you would see, whether it makes someone uncomfortable, it would make them in fear. It's bullying in any sort of way. It is also, it can be written down, it can be verbal. Harassment comes in many different forms, and the ones that I have up here are the examples that we'll mostly be focusing on today, through the discussion. What typically protects us from the street-based harassment? We have the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as well as Title VII, and hot right now, Title IX, which focuses on sexual misconduct, and also gender-based discrimination. So if you have not researched some of those things, certainly it's good to know for anyone that's entering into the workforce at some point in time. Okay, so when we're looking at the article today, the focus was really, the initial was on catcalling, walking down the streets of New York City and, being whistled at and called at and, hey baby, and how are you, give me your number, all of the different things that you can hear on a normal day walking through a big metropolitan city like New York. So I want to hear from you. Why does our society think that catcalling is an acceptable way to engage in conversation these days?
Because they want to capture our attention, I feel like.
Okay, so
They think that by doing that, then we're going to respond and we're going to engage in a conversation, which doesn't happen.
right. So, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Oh yes, thank you so much. Would you like to go out on a date with me? No, that's not going to happen. Right, exactly. So,
There was recently in the news this name when the guy was clapping everyone walked by and he's like, I'm just not gonna know that. Like before so they did like a John Stewart like rebuttal on it and that's not how it works.
very true. Very true. Media plays a huge impact on it. Yeah.
Well, like my comment is kind of like I kind of like read the article and everything, and like within my degree and everything, like when she mentioned the media, that kind of like added like another part of it into what I was gonna say. I think like a big portion, it sounds kind of weird, but like it goes into fashion itself. So like if not going against women, you guys can dress the way you guys want and nothing like that.
Yeah.
But like fashion designers is such a huge industry of just making money itself. So they exemplify women to how they believe they want them to be looked at, because they want to be looked at more gorgeous and stuff like that, and they catalog women into their perspective. So women, they feed off their emotional status, and then women like are compelled to buy it so they can feel appreciated and all those other emotional needs that whether they were talking about, like guys get their attention or something. But when the media plays out into it, the man's perspective is like, oh, he's just being a guy. But it's like, it's the point, all the history, like throughout years and years, has compiled that, that's like almost that terminology. A man is going to be perverted by nature, or he's a dog. It's the terminology that we all use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the state of mind, it's a state of quo. So why dress like that? If the guy's gonna say those things. It's kind of like one of those weird things.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because fashion. Ooh, that was my water. Fashion does play into it, and I certainly agree with you. One of the pictures that's going to be coming up talks about, as it's a silhouette of a woman, and it says, I can dress how I want because it's my self-expression, but that doesn't give you, the ability to think that I'm asking for it, wanting that attention. I'm doing it to boost my own morale. If I happen to look good walking down the street in a bikini top and a pair of short shorts, that does not mean that I'm asking for something other than, you can look as I walk by. That's fine. I mean, that's okay. That's acceptable. But that doesn't mean that you grab me, touch me, pinch me, call at me, holler at me. There's a difference between the ability for a man to say, wow, you look great. It's okay. You can pay me a compliment. But it's the way in which that compliment is delivered is what causes, the angst, the fear, the anxiety for a woman walking down the street not being able to dress and be who she is without, someone commenting on it. So I think that it is twofold. Women, anyone, it doesn't matter, women, men, anyone, has the ability to dress and be who they are. I just think we have to dive deeper into the how do we respect each other? How do we provide civility through through like education and experiences that allows for men, women, transgendered individuals, anyone in this world to be who they are, certainly. So looking into what this author focuses in on, especially in her blog, we're looking at fear, anger, hatred, loathing, and certainly misunderstanding. I think that that's what this all boils down to, right? It's just misunderstanding, and the ability to really come together and know that I can be who I am. That the community that surrounds me has to be able to provide a safe space for who I am. One thing that I just want to talk about quickly is, when you've maybe either been the victim or you've seen it in action, or whatever the circumstances may be, what do you all think is the outcome that's intended by the catcalling? What is the motivation ultimately for that catcalling? I'd like to hear from you all about that.
I don't know, but it's really frustrating, and it really, when it has happened to me, it's infuriating, and I think about that same question. It makes me literally shake my head anytime that it has happened, and it's like, I don't understand what the point of it is. It's not like it's going to make me want to engage in conversation. My initial reaction is I want to say something back. You can't even necessarily do that because these are strangers. You don't know where they're from, what their motives are, what they might do to you. So
Yeah.
You feel like you don't even have a voice sometimes.
And usually when guys are with other guys, the psychology behind, at least not when it's a guy by himself, the guys with other guys, they kind of feel like they're just being stupid. I want to do this, to be out of the group, to be the guy, to be the man, and it goes into those gender roles that we kind of play out throughout our lifetime. So sometimes when guys kind of say that derogatory comments about women, the way they're dressed, they're just kind of sometimes men feed off each other insecurities, and by being insecure, they're just trying to be more secure.
How do you react when a friend of yours, you're in that scenario, you're walking down the street with your guys? How do you react when a friend of yours starts, talking up a girl as she walks by? What is your personal reaction?
So I've been in that situation. Sometimes my friend kind of calls up a girl individually, and I'm like, dude, if you know her, you can talk to her on a one-to-one basis if you got a class with her or something like that. Me, I never really maybe when I was a stupid teenager because I didn't know any better. But as an educated adult that I consider myself, I don't do that anymore.
Anyone else have any other thoughts? Yeah.
I saw a documentary called
Warzone? Yeah.
And so the men, there was this woman, she would walk around with a microphone, and she would just record men calling her things, and said, "Are you leaving? Look over here." And she would go up to some of them, and she would say, "Why did you do that? Why would you talk to me like that?" And most of them said, "Oh, because you look good." And after she confronted them, they kind of shied down. They were more awkward, and they didn't feel so confident.
The expression of masculinity doesn't have to be through those words. That can be emulated and prescribed in so many other ways. Again, compliment me on my mind. Compliment me on other areas in which you've seen me excel. You don't have to compliment me on my gorgeous body type or what I'm wearing or what you'd like to do to me later, right? You want to make sure that masculinity can be shown in many different ways, and that's a part certainly of this article is the focus on that. Great. And I think we had a hand up in the back. Yeah.
I just want to say that the young man that was speaking a little while ago made a very good point. I think maybe men are trying to feel more secure by acting that way. Of course, a truly secure person doesn't need to do that, but often that's how people mask their insecurity, is by putting out a lot of bravado.
Yes. Great. I love that. Bravado. I like that. All right. So, yes,
Well,
Stephanie.
I don't get catcalled that often anymore.
I feel you. It's okay.
But I'm a runner, and people like to beat and watch me jump. They do catcall because I'm wearing shorts at that time, and they don't. I mean, they're looking at my backside, but they like to beat and watch me jump, and that's infuriating. And I do feel like it's not just because people want to compliment another person, whether and I do have questions about, does this happen to guys? I mean, are women turning it on guys? Should women be turning it on guys? I don't know. Is it just men? But just to watch me jump is a power thing. So that doesn't feel good.
And we're going to talk about some statistics for men and women as well.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes it's not only just what we say to us, sometimes it's even just staring. Like, that actually recently happened to me today. Like, I was just driving and just stared, and he just passed me and still looked at me. Like, you're not even looking at me.
Exactly.
You're serious, And then I just feel like, maybe, for girls, we always have that day when you feel good and you just dress how nice. But I mean, like, even though, like you said, like, we could wear a bikini, we could wear whatever we want, but, like, we didn't have to say same perception, Like, if I see a guy, like, in, bikini too, like, I wouldn't say anything about it. So I feel like they should be, both ways.
Definitely. And I think in this day and age, we have to be careful because the statistics, and Sonia can certainly back me up on this statistic, but 1 in 4 women are the victim of some sort of sexual assault or domestic violence, rape. These things. The statistic is there. It is in our faces. So for a woman personally, and I'm sorry guys, but this is my vantage point. That walking down the street or the scenarios, there is a sense of fear at some point. You think, oh my gosh, is this, am I going to be the victim? Because you don't know what the intentions are. You don't know where they're going to go. You don't know if it's just simply, okay, I'm looking good today. We're driving down the street. The guy, hopefully doesn't get into a car accident. Or is there more intention there? Is there something that I'm not, that I'm hopefully not walking into in the moment as I'm just trying to, walk into public. So, I mean, it happens everywhere. Yeah.
I have a comment about, because you mentioned like dressing, like how you dress. I mean, I believe that also like women should be able to dress how they want to dress without being like attacked by like guys. But I also believe that if you're putting something out there that like shouldn't be out there. I mean, I'm not excusing guys that do, that like go for it like a little bit, I'm not like excusing them. But I'm saying like girls should be mindful of how they dress and what kind of an image they're portraying. Because if they are, let's say, raped or whatever, yeah, it's not an excuse for the guy. Like, yeah, sure, guys can be tempted, because it's almost like in their nature, like I feel like they're sometimes like easily aroused. But I'm not, again, I'm not excusing them when they actually take action on those, feelings, because that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But again, girls should be mindful of like how they're dressing and like what image they're portraying. So, I mean, and of course, there's always like that balance, because if you want to go out and you want to look good and everything, so it's like a balance, but you have to be very cautious and like mindful.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, this is an age issue, I think, maybe. So I'm in my late 40s, and when I was growing up, and even until like 20 to 15 years ago, there's now a different kind of shoe with an incredibly high and like super thin heels. And women in this part of the country, not so much in other parts of the country, but in this part in Miami, wear the shoe. And it's to the point where to walk you see that people can't walk properly in it. And so that's not attractive to me, but okay. But I see that it portrays like a really strong vulnerability, like all a guy or another woman, she were attracted, would have to do is just push that person who's below, look at them the wrong way, and they'll fall over. And it almost, to me, it portrays like I'm willing to torture my feet and my body for you, and I'm a pushover. And I wonder, is that, I mean, what is with this shoe? I'm trying to understand that, and I really am struggling.
Well, like a stiletto type of
the super high,
right.
Like impossible, even with the like you know, like in the front
platform.
Platform, like super high.
Yeah.
I just think that's not supposed to be worn by a person. Like,
yeah. Personally, like I don't wear them, and right now I was like injured, so I really don't. I really don't wear them. But I do like them. They do, like, you know, they like enhance your appearance. You know, if you are going to an event or whatever you're doing and you want to look nice and you wear those shoes, like
heels do, but then there are the heels that are truly. So I'm just trying to understand why I see so many people even going to work wearing those shoes. Yeah.
But it's like, how can you enhance your appearance if you can't even walk in them, because that is not attractive. Like, you know, you have the heels that are appropriate for certain events where you can actually walk in them, but the stilettos and like the high platforms, like I personally, like, I don't know, it's like, if I can walk in it, like, I will not wear it outside, and if I am willing to wear it outside, like, I better know how to walk in them, because that is completely the opposite of what attractive considered to them really is.
Or is it? I mean, I guess I kind of want to know from guys' point of view, is it attractive, you know?
Actually, an interesting comment within, like, I think between women and men, it's kind of like when women wear the heels, I think it's just kind of like a high they have, because, like, for guys, at least for me, I love leather. I'm a leather guy. I can't wait. I usually wait for like December and January so I can wear my leather jacket every weekend or every other day.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of like you have that status. It's like a status thing, a power, something you have that's like the iPhone 6 is coming out, so it's like everybody's gonna make that line. I'm like, I got the 6. It's like some set of something that you have that gives you a specific high. So I guess maybe like if girls have those shoes, they feel like taller and more attractive, or they can show off their legs. And some guys are feet guys.
I think it has more to do with the signaling that women are doing to other women rather than specifically to men.
Yeah.
I think heels can be like a status symbol. You know, I think it's the way in which we maybe relate to the fashion runways and some other things that we do see. It's maybe the cheapest way, you know, for us to buy a pair of shoes that helps us feel like the media, you know, wants us to feel, you know, how the media portrays it. So, I mean, I'm a tall woman. I don't wear heels. I typically wear flats, and if I do wear heels, I'm like way over 6 foot. So I try to stay away, and if I put the ones with the platforms on, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I could probably touch the ceiling. So as we move forward in our discussion, I do want to give you some statistics just to keep in mind as we continue our discussion today. There was a study done in 2008 that said half of the people were victims by the time that they were 17 that reported that they had been harassed by like street harassment. So by the time they were 17, 1 in 4 already said, "Yep, totally happened to me." Half of those people. 1 in 4 said that they experienced some sort of street harassment by the age of 12. 12 years old. All right, so just keep that in mind. That's middle school, not even into high school yet. And then 90% of all the people that said that they had been harassed were harassed by the age of 19. So obviously college-age students. As we talked about before, as I mentioned before, that street harassment is not just specific to women. It does happen to women, men, transgendered individuals. There's actually quite a bit of research that's starting to progress, with transgender street harassment. So just a couple more. 65% of all women have experienced street harassment. 23 have been sexually touched. Obviously, we have the buttocks pincher on campus recently. That is a form of street harassment, right? So, obviously grabbing, 20% have been followed, so, down the street, in a car, many different types of examples. And then from there, 9% had actually been forced to do something sexual, so there's a very wide range of things that could be. Please don't assume that is rape. It could be, it could be a whole host of different things. On the flip side of that, among men, 25% said they had been street harassed, and that the most common form of that percentage are homophobic and transgender harassment. So very quickly, as you look here, we can see the different types. The most by experience: leering, honking, as you experienced, Stephanie, whistling, sexist comments, vulgar gestures, explicit comments, and then certainly the noise making, and the kissing noises. Yep. Overall, for women, they've been followed. The path has been blocked, so they're trying to get by, and someone's blocking the path. Obviously, the touching and the physical grabbing, the target of public masturbation and/or assault, unfortunately. So those are just some of the statistics when looking at street harassment. Are out there. There still needs to be a lot more research done. There needs to be a solid foundation. There's been a couple of studies recently, which these come from, but certainly more needs to be done. So. This art actually, once the article came up, I actually selected this article quite a bit ago, and since then, Miami has been host to Tatiana's art. Over by like the Fashion District and some of those places, you will actually see the wheat paint that's put up and murals with these photographs that you've seen throughout here. Miami is now among one of the many cities across the country where Tatiana is present. Well, really, it's now talking about the art. It's the way in which we can create awareness through the visual means. I think that people learn in different ways, people experience in different ways, and one of those ways is through visualization. So across New York and Miami, Newark, New Jersey is coming up, Mexico City, out west, in California, and a whole bunch of places in between. She has showcases on the street. She has showcases, in art studios. So certainly she is helping to spread awareness, and certainly wanted to highlight the beautiful artwork. What she does is take pictures of these people. She'll take a still photograph and then sketch them by hand. And for each of them, once she has heard their story, creates a saying or a quote from her story. So. For us, obviously, helping the cause, Take Back the Night is a program here at FIU to raise awareness for, domestic violence and sexual assault. And I think that maybe this would be a perfect place to, have partnership through Tatiana's artwork. So, getting back to your comment, the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking that we're kind of avoiding an elephant in the room. Perhaps there's more than one. Is that the distribution of catcalling, so I don't know how wide-ranging street harassment is as a concept or as a category, but as far as catcalling goes, the distribution is overwhelmingly done by poor people and people of color, and this is like a way of stigmatizing some of their just social, like their culture and social behavior. So what is the response to that as far as catcalling specifically is concerned?
I wish that I had created another slide because I think I have a rebuttal to what you just said. In this same study, there was an international study done, and one of the highest percentages of catcalling for individuals that experience street harassment was in Indiana. Right in our backyard.
No, but experiencing catcalling is the other side of the coin, right?
Okay.
It's like so Indiana is overwhelmingly white, right? But it's like white women complaining about the way that people of color interact with them in social space and in the public sphere. That's what this particular feminist issue is coming down to.
Well, it's not a feminist issue. I'd like to correct you on that. I think it's a individual issue.
Sure,
and actually
talk about consistently.
Well, the video that I urge you to check out is actually, the majority are women of color, African American, Iranian, people from all across the world. That they are experiencing it from a whole host of individuals. I can't comment on or know anything about the socioeconomic status of the people that are doing it, although I would tend to say that it's across the board. I mean, the gentleman here, I'm going to use you as the example, sir, because you've been so good. He said that in his youth, that he was, that he did that as well. Right. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know much about the socioeconomic status of individuals. I think that'd be hard to generalize. In that, having been the victim myself, I can tell you that the person on the other end of my catcalling experience was a white male. So, I mean, that's just one of many, but.
One thing, actually, awareness is always good and everything, but usually sometimes I have workshops, and sometimes they say a plan of action. So is awareness just the only part of plan of action? Because sometimes people say, oh, it's the parent's responsibility. Well, I'm not a parent yet or anything like that, but you can only do so much. I think throughout the process of everybody's individual's life, they should not go to specific workshops or anything like that. They kind of like in school, we learn something, it gets repetitive enough that we actually learn and comprehend. So it's maybe something between high school through college, either workshops or just attending, I don't know, I'll just call it a sensitivity seminar or something like that. So guys and women know how to respect each other and understand the honor code, and not just understand it, but apply it. Yeah. I think I remember reading, I don't know, if it was this FIU, I remember I had a pamphlet, I went also to a private institution, and they have an honor code, they make you sign it and everything. If you want to be inside the school, you have to sign it and oblige it. That's how it's said. And if you do anything to mess up the honor code, you're basically kicked out of school. I'm not sure.
I mean, we do have a code of conduct, certainly, and in there there is an honor code, but with violations, if something were to escalate to the point where it would be harassment and there was a repetitive nature and it falls under the guidelines of what harassment is defined by us, certainly from student conduct and conflict resolution side, we would there would be an investigation with FIU police or whomever, and we would a sexual misconduct investigation, and we would proceed with with formal charges if it was warranted, certainly. Yeah. Any other thoughts overall on maybe the statistics or ways in which we can not only just create awareness, but maybe help the flow of information and maybe the changing of some vantage points for street harassment or beyond?
I mean, I think it all starts with us. I think even like you were saying, we asked him what he does in that situation. He said that he usually says to a friend, you shouldn't do this. I think that's very powerful in itself, from men not encouraging that behavior to their peers or with their peers and with their friends. I think that kind of says a lot, and that will set the tone for how it should.
All right. Is anyone living on campus? No. All right. So if you've ever had a craving for the crack cookies at night, and then you're walking near the trap, most of the times I'd say don't walk alone. But it's and even when you walk with someone else, it's always scarier. But it's once you know the football players and whoever sits there, you're actually a part of them. And it's if you're friends with one of them or you're dating one of them, then they protect you or something like that, and they make sure that no one does anything to you or hurts you or says anything about you. It's they have to put a name to the person. If that was their sister, obviously they're not gonna want anyone whistling at her or calling her anything or telling her anything. But if it was a random person, then they don't care. But if it was someone they know, they care about, then they also protect. But if it was anyone else, they don't know, they don't care about that, which is stupid, because it's what if that was your sister and some other guy did it to her? What would you do in that situation?
I feel we, us as girls, or anyone that feels they've been a victim or something, I don't feel we should feel so victimized. I mean, I go running too, and when I go running, I have a little thing of mace in my hand. you know, you have to give yourself power too. You can't just walk around being like, someone's gonna like come attack me, you know? Like you have to be a little more confident and not so scared, and you can hang out around guys or whatever it is, but it's just, I don't think we should be so dramatic to feel like, oh, I can't walk down the street and by myself and, you know, still feel okay. I feel like it's just like the whole, like, I think therefore I am. I mean, if you think you're going to be attacked, if you act fearful, if you're like, if you're looking like a victim, chances are that's like the time that someone's going to come and like get you or attack you.
I think that also has a lot to do with like how you were raised, and like in what environment you grew up. You know, like you seem like you're saying like take some power, like do things to protect yourself, and that's really good. And you seem like a very like strong like person. But I also want to say like for me personally, I lived like in a very like sheltered sort of environment. I'm an only daughter, and it's just like me and my mom, so she was always like sort of keeping me in this like protective bubble. So for me personally, like if I have to go out in the dark, I don't, because I honestly I can't. Like I feel like scared a little bit. But of course what I do is I'll either like walk with somebody, or of course here at FIU they like provide the Panther shuttle thing, so that you can like call and then they can just like take you to your car, like if it's long distances or if it's dark and you don't feel safe. So, but I mean that goes into the same thing, like use like the resources that you have, you know, don't walk by yourself if you're scared or if it's actually a dangerous like environment. Carry, you know, pepper spray or whatever just in case. But yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I just think that it's true that we have to be careful, but it's just like it sucks that women today feel like the only way they can run safely is
with pepper spray. Yeah.
Like, when did that change?
I agree with you on that. You know, when you have to walk around with a keychain with pepper spray on it, it seems like, you know, and I am a confident woman. Let me not, you know, my supervisor can tell you over here that I typically say what's on my mind. And I agree with you that, you know, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable situation, but on the odd chances that something happens to you that you're just not prepared for, having that pepper spray is, if it makes you feel that much more comfortable in the moment, you know, obviously you want to do it. But I completely agree with you. Like, when did we get to the point where, you know, I have to run, not only with my water bottle and maybe like my fancy like little fanny pack thing, right? But I have to carry pepper spray with me for fear of what? You know, an attack, or, you know, someone coming up behind me, or just the thought of someone honking and not knowing what could be next.
I just feel like it's not so much out of fear, like, you know, carry something with you or like go get a concealed weapons license. Just feel like, you know, you're scared to run by yourself.
That's intense.
Yeah, I have it with me because in the off chance that something, I mean, when I go running, I don't go running at night or anything. I don't even run around my block during the day. I go to a park that has like a school connected to it, so there's like always people around. And that way I'm like, it's always good to be like in public. So, I mean, just use like common sense, like don't go in the middle of the night anywhere, like, yeah, you have to go with someone because it's just like putting yourself in this like a stupid situation for no reason.
Any other thoughts or comments on Elliot?
I can kind of give it from a straight male perspective too, because I've never really had a situation happen where I have been hollered at by a female. Thanks, bud. Look good tonight. I've never really had that situation happen to me, but since being in Miami and I used to work in the social or the bartending industry back in Wisconsin, it's more on the lines of it's from the homosexual.
Yeah.
So it's not. I want to say to you, it's not a feminist issue. It's a personal issue. It's a people issue. It's not that women get harassed, it's men too, and I'm not saying that I feel uncomfortable in these situations when it happens to me, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware that it does happen in other senses.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, the 25% of men said that, you know, when they have been the victims, it's been, you know, same gender, or transgender, yeah. So, We do what's called, oh, I'm so sorry, yeah.
I just had a quick question. Did you say that the art and awareness, was it called Tatiana's art, or?
Well, it's called Stop Telling Women to Smile. Yeah, so like, as the guy describes here, they do whiteboard art at some of her showcases. And we do something very similar here at FIU with what's called Enough is Enough. We do a PIT event, and it's coming up, and I'm sorry, I'm totally plugging right now. It's coming up on October 24th, and Elliot's actually the one that's overseeing the program for us. But we do a whiteboard event where you can describe to us, what it is that you're trying to stop or eradicate. And, we get the full gamut. Sexual harassment, stalking, personal abuse, sexism, racism, anything that you can think of. So we do our own version of the whiteboard event, but this is called the art is called Stop Telling Women to Smile, and these are two examples of what their whiteboard project looks like. So the one woman says to focus on not on my body or my appearance, but compliment me on my thoughts, compliment me on my mind, compliment me on my work.
Actually, just an example, because I saw that it says Stop Telling Women to Smile, and this came across my mind because it happened today again.
Oh.
I was just walking, and then this guy was just like, hey, can I ask you something? So I was just like, I just smiled back with this back and smiled, and I kept walking because I was in a rush to come over here, And then he said, why must be so rude?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, I think the smile was enough, and I guess I turned around saying that I'm not interested, I don't have time for what I'm doing. I just don't get sometimes why this guy keep, like, what is it to be enough for them? To go out and actually talk to them? I just think, like, it's like, now I understand we don't even have a frequency between walk and trying to do things about being stopped, like, saying that I'm rude after I smile.
Yeah.
They get very, angry.
Yeah, they do.
I just wanted to ask you things in this conversation about how, you said, like, some women, they walk out, at night, and then you have to, turn for some pepper spray and stuff because they're scared. I think, but from my perspective, is that why should we, like, the responsibility be the victims? Should it not, like, be the perpetrator? I mean, you can give power to victims, but the thing is that there's still being more victims. Yeah. And I think we have to look at the core issue of the problem, and it's about, I guess, our culture and what we teach. I guess the kids in our culture, because I feel like, I don't, because, like, even for a bullied victim, you can give them power, tell them to stand up for themselves, but it's difficult, and you have to start with the bullies themselves. At the end, you always have to return to that, because no matter how much power you're going to give to a victim, there will still be one more victim somewhere else. So it's what I feel.
So October is Bullying Awareness Month, and I agree with you. We have to get down to the core, and one of the values of is education. Is starting from the elementary school age and before, because it is tough. We place a lot of onus on parents to educate their children the right way, but what is the right way? It boils down to the cultural experiences that come as a family, as a ethnicity, whatever that may be. So we put a lot of pressure on them. I think that you're absolutely right. Getting down to the first place that we as a society community can really come together is potentially in our schools. So many schools participate in Bullying Awareness Month. It doesn't need to just be 1 month. It needs to be 365. And through our efforts with the Civility Initiative, we really try to make things 365. And one of the major topics for us this year is bullying, because bullying surrounds so much of what we're talking about today. It encompasses hazing. It encompasses drug and alcohol abuse. Hazing or bullying, in my personal opinion, this is not documented research, etc., is the core of where it all starts. Did you have your hand raised? No? Okay, sorry. Any other comments or thoughts on? Okay, so as we start to close out, obviously we are a university. We provide so many different resources, and we've talked about some individuals today that maybe have been on the victim side. So we are always in the business of providing you with information and the ability to talk with someone or report. or provide help to a friend that maybe has been a victim. So up here you'll see our Equal Opportunity Programs and Diversity. Our Title IX coordinator for the university is Sherlon McWhorter. Dr. Kristen Kaczynski is our Deputy Title IX coordinator, as well as Julie Berg McGraw, who is our athletic director. They all focus on sexual misconduct and making sure that we are on par with exactly what is prescribed under Title IX. Obviously, our office, Student Conduct, our contact information is there. Victim Empowerment Program run through the Counseling and Psychological Services Center offers amazing support to those that have potentially been victims, as well as programming efforts as well. Our Dean of Students office, and then finally FIU Police. Just as a side note, we do offer anonymous reporting, but just understand that if someone were to come to us, like myself as a victim, and let me know about something that maybe has happened to them, I'm a mandatory reporting source, and that's something that we're trying to raise awareness about as well. Is that if you were to come to me describing any sort of domestic abuse, relationship violence, sexual assault, battery, anything like that, I have to report it to my boss, to FIU Police. That depends, but I have to report to at least my supervisor. So just understand that the only person that really offers anonymity in this particular group here is the Victim Empowerment Program. The counselors over in that area can be anonymous until the point in which the victim wants to come forward.
Can you explain what Title IX is?
Sure. Oh gosh. Do you have 25, 30, 40 hours?
What does it mean by title? Why is it 9? What does it say?
Title IX, and Kristen, you can jump in anytime you want. Title IX oversees gender-based discrimination. So when we look at Title IX from like the lower level, it's the abilities for restrooms, to be separated. It's the ability for like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to still exist. Sororities and fraternities to remain, single gender. But then it gets into like gender-based discrimination. If you look at sports, so for example, collegiate sports, there has to be an equal equivalent or a balanced effort for both opportunity for men and women. We have to look at that collectively. And then finally, the president has released a lot recently through the White House about Title IX and gender-based discrimination as it relates to sexual assault, sexual violence, domestic abuse and domestic violence, and beyond. So in our efforts, it's the ability to keep a safe and comfortable environment, this community, and there are many things that have been prescribed, all the way down through the Office of Civil Rights, for us to make sure that we are abiding by as a university. Is there anything they'd like to add?
You did it perfectly.
So
it's a federal law.
It is. I'm sorry. Yes, there we go. A federal law. Thank you. So very similar to Title VII, which oversees race and ethnicity and the equality between all individuals. So it's very similar in the prescription of that as well.
And you, I'm sorry if you don't mind. The president has come down with specific rules and things that have to happen.
Not specific rules yet. The first stage is the findings of what they found and kind of a general, this is what colleges need to be more protective of, particularly female students, but any students that are sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
The next thing will be rules and regulations that we need to follow. There are some things that have come down already.
Clearly.
It's also come down from the Violence Against Women Act, which was also reauthorized recently. Whereas that act says we need training for every single incoming student on sexual misconduct. We need a couple other different things, and so that also is adding to the things that universities need to do, but we still haven't had the final regulations of that. So it's coming.
So every university's had to report to the president, or his designees, about the amount and the nature of sexual misconduct that's happened.
And that's under the Clery.
Yes.
So Clery is like a separate beast in itself, although they do complement each other in the way in which they function. Clery is every October, any university has to publish a report. Our office is all crime stats. So that includes drug, alcohol violations under particular ages. There's a lot of guidelines around that, but sexual assault, and sexual misconduct must be reported through that.
And for the calendar year 2013, they added domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking to the Clery crime stats.
Yep. So our office works hand in hand with a couple different offices to pull up those reports for the ones that we have personally adjudicated or sent over to FIU police. All right. So, as I said before, we do have the Civility Initiative. I have a couple giveaways for everyone. Hopefully you can take. We do have our flyer here with the events for this semester, as I did mention. Enough is Enough, as well as the Bullying Awareness Month. Our partners are there, but ultimately what we try to emulate and what we try to align ourselves with are the 3 words: respect, integrity, community. We have found that those are the values. Looking at the university's mission, looking at the policies and procedures that the university has put forth, those were the words that we saw that stood out to make the Civility Initiative successful in programming and helping students raise awareness to particular causes. So you can see there, as we talked about before, some of the things that we have aligned ourselves with as it relates to programmatic efforts. So gender-based harassment, domestic abuse, relationship violence, bullying, hazing, and drug and alcohol abuse. So, I have been told in the past that I have what's called a bitchy resting face, where I am walking down the street and I'm deep in thought, and my face just doesn't look pretty. It's just like I'm thinking about it, or I'm just not thinking about anything, and I have that face. So, in an effort to, with a very difficult topic, talked about today, in an effort, I'm going to leave you with my bitchy resting face video. Just giving everyone, there's totally an F-bomb in this, so I'm just letting everyone know, okay?
Very exciting project that we're going to be starting next week, and I want both of you guys to be on it. Is that okay with you, Erin?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll kick it off probably like on Tuesday.
If I am not super diligent, the minute my face starts resting, I'm a bitch.
Hey, come on, cheer up. It's Bagel Day.
Okay, just because I'm not smiling doesn't mean I'm miserable.
He sounds great.
He is great.
That's what I meant.
Do you think he's not great?
Sometimes my face has a really hard time expressing excitement. It sucks.
Oh, hey, did you hear about Calvin's party? That's gonna be so fun. There's like... You don't seem that excited about this. Never mind, it's alright.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Erin? We're a little worried about your attitude. We think you should smile more.
Stop saying that. I'm pretty sure it's an HR violation.
What's up? When I first met you, I thought you hated me.
So funny. Huh. That one's kind of offensive.
Wait, what's wrong?
What?
You look like something's really wrong.
I'm just thinking. Look, this is just how my face is, okay?
If this is about last night, I'm so sorry.
Just to end on a funny note, that just because my face does not, it's not done. No, it was done. Our faces don't tell all, our body types don't tell all, what we're wearing doesn't necessarily tell all. So just something obviously to keep in mind as we move forward as a community here at FIU. So.
Thank you.
Not a problem.